In a cozy house on the quiet outskirts of a bustling city lived a sweet and adventurous kitten named Milo. Milo was no ordinary kitten. He was curious and brave, with sleek, soft fur colored in golden-orange stripes that shone warmly in the sunlight. His bright green eyes gleamed with curiosity and endless enthusiasm for exploration. Milo's favorite human was a kind and gentle young woman named Emily. Emily had found Milo abandoned and alone on a rainy night when he was barely a few weeks old. She brought him home, gently warmed him up, fed him, and nurtured him back to strength. From that moment, the two became inseparable. Emily's home was Milo's sanctuary, and she showered him with endless affection and care. Every day, Milo would spend hours exploring the small garden behind Emily's house, chasing butterflies, climbing trees, and basking under the sunlight. In the evenings, he would curl up beside Emily, purring contentedly as she read her favorite novels. Life was peaceful, full of warmth and love. But one day, the peace of Milo's idyllic life was disrupted dramatically. Emily was hosting a small gathering of friends for her birthday. With people moving in and out of the house, the usually cautious Emily accidentally left the back door slightly ajar. Milo, intrigued by the unusual commotion and the enticing sounds of the unfamiliar world beyond his garden fence, ventured out through the open door and into the wider, unknown streets of the city. It wasn't long before Emily noticed Milo's absence. A sinking feeling of dread filled her chest as she frantically searched every corner of her home and garden. Realizing Milo had escaped, Emily's heart sank and a deep fear gripped her. Without hesitation, she gathered her friends, and together they combed through nearby streets, calling Milo's name desperately. But Milo was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, the little kitten had already wandered far from home. Initially excited and curious about the new surroundings, Milo quickly became overwhelmed by the noisy streets, the honking cars, and the rush of unfamiliar footsteps. He soon realized he was utterly lost, his surroundings completely alien and frightening. Night fell rapidly, and with darkness came cold, loneliness, and fear. Huddled beneath a parked car, shivering and scared, Milo watched helplessly as shadows loomed and unfamiliar noises echoed around him. He missed the warmth of Emily's home and her gentle voice. Determined to find his way back, he summoned his courage and cautiously emerged from his hiding spot, stepping softly into the vast darkness of the unfamiliar city. Milo padded carefully along the sidewalk, his tiny paws trembling on the cold concrete. Each shadow seemed alive, each noise echoed louder, making his heart race. He soon reached an intersection buzzing with cars, their bright headlights blinding him momentarily, forcing him back into a nearby bush. Milo crouched low, his green eyes wide with fear. He had never seen cars moving so quickly, their engines roaring like fierce beasts. After what seemed like forever, the traffic quieted down slightly, and Milo sensed his chance. Summoning every ounce of bravery, he darted across the street. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a pair of blazing headlights sped directly toward him. The screeching of tires filled the air as Milo froze, petrified. His heart pounded painfully. Miraculously, the car skidded and stopped mere inches from the trembling kitten. The driver, startled and angry, shouted from his window, but Milo couldn't hear him clearly. Driven purely by fear, Milo bolted into a nearby alley. Breathless and terrified, he squeezed himself between two large garbage bins. His fur was now dirty and tangled, no longer the soft, shimmering coat Emily loved to brush. His stomach growled painfully, reminding him it had been hours since his last meal. Exhausted, Milo curled into a small, shivering ball, too afraid to continue. As he drifted into a restless sleep, dreams of Emily's gentle hands and soft voice provided brief comfort, only to dissolve into the harsh reality as another sound startled him awake. Rats scurried nearby, rummaging loudly through trash. Milo tried to stay unnoticed, flattening himself further against the damp ground. Eventually, hunger forced him out of hiding. He cautiously moved further down the alley, sniffing desperately for any trace of food. Near the back door of a small restaurant, Milo found scraps scattered across the pavement. He quickly began eating the small morsels of discarded food, which tasted bitter but eased his gnawing hunger. The night was harsh and unforgiving, pushing Milo further away from the familiar comforts of home. As dawn broke over the city, Milo found himself wandering through unfamiliar streets. The buildings were taller, the streets noisier, and the people hurried past without noticing the small, frightened kitten struggling beneath their feet. Milo had grown weaker overnight, his energy drained by stress, hunger, and exhaustion. His tiny paws hurt with every step, but he pressed forward, driven by an instinctive longing for Emily's warm embrace. By mid-morning, Milo arrived at a small city park, slightly calmer than the bustling streets he had escaped. The grassy paths and scattered trees provided some relief from the chaos. Carefully stepping onto the damp grass, he took a moment to rest under a bench, licking his sore paws and grooming his matted fur. As Milo rested, a sudden rustling in the bushes drew his attention. From the shadows emerged a large black dog powerfully built, with coarse fur and piercing eyes. Clearly a stray, the dog had an intimidating presence, its coat matted, and its expression wary from a life of hardship on the streets. Milo immediately sensed danger. His fur stood on end, and his tiny body pressed further back into the shadows beneath the bench. The dog paused, raising its head and sniffing the air intently, clearly detecting Milo's presence. Its ears perked forward as it slowly began approaching the bench, cautious yet determined. Milo's heart raced, panic rising within him. The dog's steady approach gave him little room to maneuver. He flattened himself further against the cold earth, trying to become invisible. The large stray dog stopped a few steps away, growling softly, uncertain about the strange little creature hidden in the shadows. Fear surged through Milo. Suddenly, the dog barked sharply, breaking the tension and triggering Milo's instincts to flee. He darted from beneath the bench, his tiny legs carrying him as swiftly as they could toward the edge of the park. The dog immediately pursued him, barking loudly, paws pounding the ground. Milo zigzagged desperately between trees and bushes, adrenaline pushing him beyond his limits. He could feel the dog's breath almost upon him. With the last of his strength, Milo squeezed through a narrow gap in the park's fence too small for the large dog to follow. The dog barked loudly, scratching futilely at the fence, before eventually turning away in frustration. Panting heavily, Milo collapsed behind a parked car, hidden safely from view. Overwhelmed by loneliness and fear, Milo curled into a small ball, desperately wishing for Emily's comforting voice and loving arms once again. He lay there trembling, feeling more lost than ever, uncertain how he'd ever find his way back home. Night had fallen once again, cloaking the city in shadows and uncertainty. Milo continued wandering aimlessly, growing weaker with every step. He had traveled farther than ever before, and nothing around him looked even remotely familiar. Streetlights cast a dim yellow glow, illuminating cracked sidewalks and littered alleyways. The chilly night air caused Milo's thin frame to shiver uncontrollably, and hunger tormented him relentlessly. As Milo approached yet another busy street, his tired paws hesitated. The roaring traffic and blazing headlights reminded him vividly of his earlier narrow escape. Fear overwhelmed him, paralyzing him momentarily. Then, a gentle rustling sound from behind startled him. Milo spun around defensively, ears flattened, ready to flee once more. To his surprise, instead of another threat, Milo found himself looking into the kind, curious eyes of an elderly woman who had spotted him trembling on the sidewalk. She wore a soft, knitted shawl and carried a wicker basket filled with groceries. The woman smiled gently, speaking to him in a soothing voice. "Oh, you poor little thing," she murmured softly, bending slowly to approach Milo. Despite his cautious nature, Milo felt inexplicably drawn to her kind demeanor. She reminded him of Emily, radiating warmth and safety. Gently, she extended a frail hand, letting Milo sniff her fingertips. Trust began to form within Milo's exhausted heart. Recognizing the kitten's desperate state, the woman carefully lifted him into her arms, wrapping him protectively inside her shawl. For the first time in days, Milo felt safe again. He nestled quietly against her chest, letting his tiny body relax as she carried him toward her nearby apartment. Upon arriving home, the woman immediately provided Milo with fresh food and clean water. Milo ate greedily, grateful for the nourishment after his exhausting ordeal. Afterward, She gently cleaned his tangled fur, whispering comforting words as she soothed his fears. Her name, Milo learned from her gentle voice, was Margaret. Though grateful, Milo still felt an aching loneliness. As he curled up on a soft cushion Margaret prepared for him, he thought continuously of Emily. Margaret sensed his lingering sadness, realizing that he surely had a home somewhere. Deeply moved, she resolved that she must help reunite the tiny kitten with his true owner. The following morning, Margaret made flyers with Milo's picture, carefully handwritten with the words, "Lost kitten found, please call." She placed them all around her neighborhood, hoping desperately someone would recognize Milo and reach out. Milo watched her work tirelessly, sensing her compassion and kindness. He knew instinctively Margaret was trying to help him find his way back home. Filled with renewed hope, Milo waited patiently, praying that soon he would see Emily's face again. Meanwhile, Emily had hardly slept since Milo's disappearance. Her heart ached constantly, haunted by guilt and anxiety. Every waking moment was spent searching tirelessly through every alley, street, and park, calling Milo's name into the endless void. She put up posters throughout the neighborhood, visited animal shelters daily, and posted on every local community website and social media page, praying someone would spot her beloved kitten. Days turned into nights, each without Milo growing more unbearable. Emily often sat in the garden, hoping Milo would somehow appear, his familiar silhouette emerging from the darkness. Her friends tried comforting her, but nothing could ease the void Milo had left. One evening, after another exhausting day of searching, Emily received a phone call. Her heart raced as she answered. A gentle, elderly voice spoke softly on the other end. "Hello? Is this Emily? I think I found your kitten," Margaret said warmly, her voice instantly bringing tears of relief to Emily's eyes. Emily could hardly believe what she was hearing. Breathless, she asked, "Is he all right? Is it really him?" Margaret reassured her, describing Milo's distinctive golden-orange fur and emerald eyes. Emily's heart soared. She knew without a doubt it was Milo. Arrangements were quickly made, and Emily rushed across the city to Margaret's apartment, her heart pounding with anticipation and joy. Every second felt eternal, the road seemingly stretching on endlessly. As she finally arrived at Margaret's humble home, Emily knocked urgently on the door, her breath trembling. The door opened slowly, revealing Margaret smiling gently, holding Milo in her arms. Emily's eyes filled instantly with tears as Milo leaped from Margaret's arms, running directly into Emily's embrace. The kitten purred fiercely, rubbing his face affectionately against Emily's chin. In that single moment, the days of fear, sadness, and longing vanished completely, replaced only by pure, overwhelming joy. Margaret watched the reunion, her eyes shimmering with tears. She invited Emily in, where the two women sat together sharing their stories. Emily learned of Milo's dangerous adventures and Margaret's kindness, deeply grateful for this compassionate stranger who saved Milo's life. They promised to keep in touch, bonded forever by their shared love for a small, brave kitten. As Emily brought Milo safely home, peace finally returned. Milo once again played joyfully in his garden, climbing trees and chasing butterflies, cherishing each moment. Though the city beyond still held countless unknown dangers, Milo knew he'd never stray again. He had learned the value of home, the warmth of kindness, and most importantly, the profound love that bound him to Emily forever. Their bond, now stronger than ever, reminded them both how precious and fragile their happiness truly was. As Emily held Milo close, stroking his soft fur gently beneath the fading evening sun, she knew their hearts would always remain intertwined, resilient and unbreakable, no matter what life brought their way.